Tagaloa Samoa o te whaatalofa atu lau whaafonga tapu ai mai i le tātou sauninga i nei foi sa o le sauninga i tu sa o atu mai Samoa nei ia o ale tau sila tapu ai mai ia ele ngate i o tātou lau whanua i Samoa nei e whapea foi ia tunu o mamau i New Zealand Australia o Amerika ia po fea lava le tafo le laulangi o e maua mai ai ia le tātou sauninga le nei o le mo moa no whaatalo fatu te whaatalo fatu lau tapu inga Samoa whaatalo fatu le tapu inga o sina o le tātou o tuno ia te o tau tamama tina matutua i le ngata i o tātou lau whanua i Samoa ne ia whapea fo i tunu o mamao whaatalo fatu i lau mai mo tapu mai i pa ia whaale atunu o ainga ma lato tama ma lato ainga leu songa tu mua mpule i tu au ma lataua ainga i le taima le va au fono ti whaatalo fatu foi i le tapu inga whaale malo mai o na ao se i o na iu talofa lava whaatalo fatu foi i le malo siolinu le au manga ia ma le awaluma e mulia i se matou whaatalo fa ia i sunga i ri i whaife au mo lato faltua ia o lo whapenao na ia i no umalala whanga ia a wale tautuaina tangatanu o Samoa a wase manui o Samoa mo atai au whape fo i ona fia whapa i atu se nganga whaatalo fa ia tatou whanau o tau e lima mawai iai tonu a mātua i te tonu o ainga. Ia ai maise o matai i te tonu o tātou lava pui ainga. O le mātou te whaatalo whātua i tālofa lava. Pe ono tā ua le taimi o whano i vai a sotaluai. Ia o le tātou polo kalame o la whaatau taina ma la moli nātu le ngana Peritania. O nei pe e ilang le anganga e fia maua uma a tātou whanau ia in the diaspora la tau na whanau maola ia tunu o mamau. Ia ona i le malmalama la tau le tātou ngana wha Samoa. Ia se malmalama ia e titi e le tele. E le tele fo i seava noe me whai ona tau te tala i ngana Samoa ia Usita'i. O le mana tuai e moli atu le tātou whiau ia Usita'i. Ili ngana Peritania ina ia se ai o le tātou wha moe ia wā tātou whanau o ne le mātau atu e whaita wafe maafe o tātou tangata o lo i le diaspora ia tunu o mamau ia o le alana o le wha moe o le momoli atu o le tātou sauninga o Usita'i i le ngana Peritania ai tau te le se atu la i le vaenga le o le tātou sauninga ia o te manatu e mana ia foi e vai foi mai le tātou talanoa wha Samoa ia i le talanoa ngana Peritania o le la tātou i le peselea o le peselea na tā foi vai Australuai ia o le pese o te manao ai tātā pēr ona e mana ia le anganga o le pese ta o le whaingoa o le lauaki e langona pēr lowi u leo la waki e langona pea lowi u leo. O la waki mo le silafia e malu le tunu. O le tasi leo toa mangu le maua pule. O le maua pule o la tole na salinga su o le teitai au. Le o tato ai nei manu manuia ia o Samoa o tuto tasi. E tele i sau noanga matango fie. Na sau ai i le tamaya la waki. Ai tasi ala na fuaitau le maupe ia teau. Matu maupe le uloto no manatu le fatu se pese e autu ile saunoanga le ala waki ina ia fai malui fai mafafangu fai fo fa manatu i tupulanga fai mai pea lava pea ia le nganga fo ma le fatu o le tama le tuno o le upulala waki fa pea o mai lo woti e le pule se palangi la Samoa e o mai lo woti e le pulea se palangi la o Samoa. Ia pe o te tonu o le saunoanga na o le ta oto mai e le tonu, le anganga lo tonu, le mitamitanga o ia o le Samoa. Ma le mitamitanga i mea sina mana mea tō tino wha Samoa i wha pena o nei a ao, i utou a ao ma o tātou lima, o tātou lava o Samoa. E o le winga nā lana tala vo, e o mai lo woti, e le pu lea, e papalangi la o Samoa. Ia pela nei vai tau, e mwhai wha pēa e o mai le oti, e le pu lea ni saina Samoa, e o mai le oti, e le pu lea e ai lava. A le aunga lava le wha moe moe, ia langona pēa li leo o la waki, me lena whatua i pese, ma le wha moe moe ina ia langona pēa tupulanga whai mai, le i leo la waki. E o mai lo oti, e le pu le palangi po sesi lava, la o Samoa. Ia, o le tātou pese lan nei, la waki, e langona pēa, lo i leo. Ia, e wha marulu atu, na o pe o le whitau i ele, se o sumai al pes. Se toi amata lelei, ia, tātou mea e wha pēo na whai. Si toi su e koan mena. Okay. Au princess. Ran mena utup. Oi. E oi e. Ia. Ole mau akule, ole mau lava le ata ua, ole mau Samoa mo Samoa. Le ole le. I. Lawai na petena I matatu mga masani Samoa o taule loa Lawaki lang o na pesio I uleo Ele pule ni papalangi o Samoa Ole mau a pule, ole mau la maleta ua, ole mau Samoa mo Samoa. Ele mawhai e mai na tenei a le alofa. Ele mawhai, ele mawhai, ele mawhai. Lawaki la Pesio I uleo Ele pule ni papalangi la Samoa Ole mau a pule Ole mau la maleta ua Ole mau Samoa mo Samoa Lawaki la mona Pesio I uleo Ele pule ni papalangi la Samoa Ole mau a pule Ole mau la maleta ua Ole mau Samoa mo Samoa Ia, ole tātou pesel na o manatu e wawai foe a tātou tile se e atu le vaenga whaperitania o le tātou sauninga. That is the song that I wrote about 3 months ago, and it's to coincide with the celebration of our 60th independence celebration, 60th anniversary of our independence celebration. And I thought to write the song in memory of Lawaki. Lawaki was the leader of Le Mauapule. They were the trailblazers in starting this movement for independence. And they were exiled to Saipan for, I think, three or 5 years. And some of them made it back. Lawaki died on the way back, on the ship, on the way back. But the song is entitled Lawaki Langona Persio I Uleo. Translates into English, it says, Lawaki, we will always hear the tail end of your voice. And what I'm talking about is about the statement that he said. In Samoan, he said, E o mai lo woti ele pule ni papalangi la Samoa. Translates into English, my Samoa will never be owned, governed by any palangi over my dead body. It's a bold statement, a challenging statement, very nationalistic statement, very, yeah. And I think if these lines are remembered through generations, then not only is it a reminder for generations and the unborn Samoans of what the gut feeling that our ancestors had about what we have, our land, our titles, our family, everything hereditary, our heritage, to be mindful of. And so when we hear this voice, nobody's going to take over my Samoa, over my dead body. That's how precious Samoa is to Lawaki and Le Mauapule. Hence the song, Lawaki e langona pea sio wi o leo. And in saying that, I want to say talofa greetings and welcome to Tagaloa Tradition Sunday service. It's a broadcast that comes direct from Samoa on Sundays in celebration of discovering Tagaloa. Who is Tagaloa? Well, Tagaloa is not a god that we worship, nor is Tagaloa a god that we fear. No, Tagaloa is the boundless force the creator spirit of Samoa that was dethroned by the white god the Palangi brought. In saying that, I thank you for joining us as we return Spirit Tagaloa to its rightful designated place. Once the Spirit Tagaloa is seated in our soul, only then can we feel it in our customary land, in our oceans, in our waters, our rivers, our lakes. Only then can we experience it as the vibration, the frequency, the energy, that boundless force. Like the wind, it's invisible, but we can see how it influenced the trees in the forest to dance. It's a divine presence we cannot touch, but my golly gosh, you can feel it. We cannot know nor understand Tagaloa. We can only experience it. This Sunday, it's the experience of the word for today, Usitai Obey. Usitai Obey. Obey is that feeling of asking someone to do something and then seeing it being carried out and being done. Or asking someone to do something, but that somebody feels in his mind and his head, why me? And there are reasons why this somebody feels that there's a better way of doing what you're saying for me to do. But they do it anyway. But then there's a third case of asking somebody who has this, I guess, hard-headedness and think that, no, I'm not going to do it. And that's the word for today, obey. Translates into Samoan, Usita'i. Usitai. Talking about these feelings and understanding the experience of Usita'i brings us closer to discovering Tagaloa, because Tagaloa is the spirit in, not behind, in our culture. And our culture is made up of this rich language, this language that are made up of these deep proverbial expressions and these words that have absolute spiritual meanings and spiritual messages in them. The word for today is Usitai Obey. So once again, talofa lava, and welcome to the word for today, Usitai. According to the Oxford Learner's Dictionary, obey means to do as you're told, or to do as expected of you. To do what is expected of you. To do as you're told, or to do something that's expected of you. That's obey, according to the dictionary. Translates obey to Samoan is the word Usita'i. Now there's a deeper, much deeper meaning of the Samoan word, of this concept, as opposed to just the word obey. Let me digress for a bit. About 3 years ago, I spoke with a faithful friend of mine who resides he's got a parish in America. And we talked about the word that we spoke about last week, tulo. So he said, well, what's the spiritual meaning behind tulo? And so I shared with him. And then afterward, he kind of smiled and he said, that's very interesting, very informative, very interesting. Because as far as I'm concerned, tulo is you say, excuse me. When you walk past somebody, you say, excuse me. Or if you want something from somebody, you say, tulo, love, and that's it. It doesn't have an in-depth meaning, as you've just explained. And this is how profound the ancient spiritual wisdom of our ancestors that my friend in America saw. And it's the same as this word. In English, it's just simply being told to do something or doing something that's expected of you. But when we come to the Samoan meaning of the word obey, it's a whole new ballgame altogether. And it's understanding the word. That's how close we can come to knowing how wise our ancestors were, man. You know, Usita'i. Usita'i is made up of two words, Usi and Tai. So let's start from the back and work our way backwards to the front. Let's start with Tai. Tai, there are many interpretations of the word, but this is the first interpretation is Tai. Tai comes from the word tai. Tai means leader or to lead somebody. Tai lead or take the kid to the water or to the swimming pool. Tai is a way of doing something. Tai. Usi is to change the form of something that is the object that is hard and put it through a process for a transformation where that object becomes like a paste, like jelly. So it's a change of status or state of the object from being hard to a paste-like substance. So now when you put the two words together, it's saying that lead, Tai is lead, or the way of doing something, or leading or showing somebody how to do something. And Wusi is to bring this solid object and melt it down to a jelly-like form so you can mold it into whichever shape, size, and form you wish it to be. In there lies the wisdom of your ancestors and our ancestors. To obey, there is also a question of listening and hearing comes into play here. A lot of people listen, but they don't hear what's been said. And when you play with these two aspects of it, lead and melt from solid to something jello-like. And seeing that we're talking to the diaspora, and really I am targeting the young people. I'm sorry, as grown-up, you grown-ups and elderly folks, I'm really targeting the youth and the young people. So every time we speak on Sundays, I always gear the word towards our young people. So this Sunday is no exception. Talking about the young people and the meaning of Usita'i. Usi means melt, this hardcore object into a jelly-like substance. And ta'i is to lead and to show the way of doing something. So what it means when these two words are put together, it means that the reasoning in you to lead or to do something, Usi is saying melt that and turn it into a jelly, a softer version of that hard-headedness, so that you can just obey. Usita'i. Not only do you listen, but you also hear what's being asked of you. Usi means to melt. When somebody asks me to do something and it doesn't jive with my vibes and my whatever, half the time I won't do it. But see, the Samoan culture through the word Usita'i is saying, Fatu, melt that, change that hardness into a paste, into almost a liquid, melt it down And through that, in humility, you will see why that task was asked of you. Yeah, yeah. I think a better way to explain this and to describe Usi is always, I always associate it with making a cup of cocoa, the real Samoan cocoa. When you make the cocoa, the drink, first of all, you get the beans, and then you what do you call it? You roast the beans on an open fire, and that not only to cook the beans, but also to separate the beans from the skin. So when it's roasted proper and the right state, then you separate the beans from the skin, and then you put it into this tanoa. It's a bowl, cocoa bowl. E ka ole ka ngoa kui coco. Kui means punch or pound. Coco is coco and tanoa is bowl. And this bowl is made up of this hunk of wood about yay round and about that long. And then on this piece of wood, they carve a hole in it. And in that hole, that's where they put the beans. You probably all know about the tanoa coco, but for the benefit of those who don't. And then you get a rock, which is a little longer than the depth of the hole in the tanoa. And it's not quite as big as the size of the hole in the tanoa, a little smaller, but it's all rounded off. It's oblong rock. It's all rounded off. So you put the beans in the tanoa, and then you pound on it. And you do it for like 20, 25 minutes. And that was solid, like pebbles. These, the beans, they were like pebbles, like small pieces of rock. They're solid, they're objects. But after pounding on it for like 20, 25 minutes, if you really want to make a good paste and real pasty, then keep on for 30 minutes, even 40 minutes. And it almost turns the thing into water, in a watery sense. And so when we understand that, usi means something that is an object that is solid. It's like a pebble, it's like a little rock. But you pound on it for 20, 30 minutes, even 40 minutes. It changes, it transforms its form into almost liquid. So you see, our Samoan culture is saying through the word Usita'i, that reasoning in my head to think, no, I will do it my way because, I know. But not understanding why my parents asked me to do this and do it this way. And so our culture is saying to me, Fatu, that hard-headedness of yours, melt it, please. Find in your heart the humility and be humble. And you will see when this thing is usi, when the cocoa is usi, you can mold it into anything you wish, into any shape. And when you melt that, when I melt my hard-headedness, then my inner voice will take over and will mold me into somebody that will see the sense and realize the wisdom in what my parents or my older folks or the elders of the village expected of me. That is Usita'i. So you see, this is our language. These are our words. And every Samoan word has a spiritual meaning instilled in it, enshrined in it. So when we go in and break it down and look into it, then that's where we find our spirituality. It's not a religion, it's a spirituality, because everything about our language and everything about our words touches nature in one way or another. If it's not about the sphere of the heavens and the skies, if it's not about the plants, if it's not about, it refers to something of nature. And that's where this spirituality of our ancestors was born from. And that's why it's important that we know our language, that we understand our language. Our words formulate our language. Our language formulate our traditions, and our traditions and our stories formulate our culture, and our culture depicts and defines who we are, who you are, and what I am. Very important, very important. Something that's solid, you grind it, you ground it, you pound on it for half an hour, whatever, and it melts. And that's what they're saying. Please, give it time, pound it with patience. Give it patience, give it time, pound it with an open mind. A friend of mine told me about his kids. He said, I had a run-in with my kids, and I said, okay, I want to hear about this one. And he said, my kids are saying, Dad, why are you always asking us to do things which we see we don't have to do? Because you keep inviting people. People are just walking on the street, going to where they're going, and then you ask them, you call them to come in, and then puts us on the spot. Because every time you invite somebody and they come in, and then you say, okay, put the kettle on, for the key, and one of you come and take this money and go and get some packet of biscuits or something for us to eat while we're talking. And the kids are saying, you know, every time, and you invite some people, you invite 2 people into the house, and we always, it's almost like we don't have time to do the things that we want to do. And I said, okay, well, they you know, they make sense what they're saying. He says, yeah, but so I talked to them. I said, you sound like I'm a slave driver. I'm making you do things that I want with me and my friends, and not give you time to enjoy yourselves with your friends. Where am I going with this? It's about obedience. Obey. Usita'i. And so he started telling his kids, he said, what I'm doing is I'm teaching you how to host, to be a good host. So, you know, when you grow up and you have kids of your own, this is what you need to do. Because in Samoan culture, when somebody walks past and you're eating something or you're drinking something, even if you're not eating anything, it's polite, and it's Samoan culture to ask them to come in. You know, won't you? It's always like that. And so when they come, it's my responsibility, and it's part of my side of the bargain to come up with something to drink and something to eat. You read the Bible and you see everything about the Israelites, everything they do when they achieve a goal or when they won a battle. What do? They feast. And it's, I swear, the Israelites are part Samoan. But this is, and everybody, every people, every nation, nationality seem to do the same thing. Because with every country, when something good happens, people always say, well, why don't we go out for dinner and celebrate? So that's what I'm doing here. I'm not putting you out so you won't have time with your friends. To me, I see it as a learning process. I am teaching you. I am teaching you how to be a good host. I am teaching you responsibility when you grow up, to continue this continuity of our culture, which is love and respect. When people walk past, ask them. And if they do come in, accommodate them. So that's what this is all about. It's not about enslaving you or me being a slave driver or anything. No, it's very important that the young people understand Usitai, obey. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to you. I know. How do I know? I was a kid once. My whole generation listening today, we were all kid once, and we know exactly what our children are going through. And so this is part of our exercise, is for us to also realize, and because once we become a parent, we seem to forget that we were once kids, and the feelings and the experience our children are going through, we experience the same thing. we were rebellious against our parents, maybe not outright, and speaking, articulating our concern about this, that, the other. We didn't. But it was inside us. It was in our heart. But today it's a different ballgame. The children are different now. They come out and say it, which I think is nice. It's better than us when we bottled it up. I think it's nice today. But that's also a give and take for you young people. You don't come on a demanding basis. You come and talk to your parents in a nice way, like the kids of this, of my friend here. And so it's inserting responsibility, teaching responsibility while you're young. So when you become an older person, you can be that teacher for not just your kids, but many other kids. Because I swear, so when sometimes when I'm not there, and a friend would come calling, and he would come in because he thought I was in, so he would come in, Felukama, he's already in the house, and Felukama, and you say, oh, my dad's not here, he's gone to appear, and he says, oh my goodness. Well, when your dad comes, meanwhile, you know what your dad did when his friends come calling. You've got the kettle going, somebody's running up to the toilet, and then when it's okay, tell your father that I came and I wanted to see him about it. And before he leaves, you will say, yeah, lala mai mosina leo whapuna mai vai vela wasau tita mawhala watule. Half the time, the elderly person would say, no, thank you. But I swear, when he leaves, he will be so flabbergasted. That's the right word. He will be so flabbergasted with this house of just children. But they acted like they were matais, receiving another matai. They knew how to host people, and this is the meaning of Usita'i, is to melt that tai thing in me, so I can learn, and when I learn, I can execute that on my own. I don't need my dad to be there to tell me, put the kettle on. No, I know what to do. Bam! When I see his friend come in, I put the kettle on. I get the And that dude, that old fella that came in, I swear he will tell everybody, oh, kamakira esele, Usitai Obey. It's learning to teach, to soften, to melt. I didn't want to use this word, but it's the most appropriate word to describe my hard-headedness, and that is arrogance. Melt that arrogance, and it will give you an open mind, and it will open your eyes, not just your physical eye, but your spiritual eyes, and you'll see behind the thing that is blocked by my hard-headedness, and it's the spirituality of our words and our language. I did something I haven't done before this weekend, and sometimes I pinch myself. I have never, for the longest time, I can't remember, when I woke up and I came and I sat down and checked my email like I do every morning, and then I found out. See, I put on on my pages about what the topic is going to be for this Sunday. And then I asked, which is Usitai Obey, then I asked my friends and our groups to comment. And I said, I left the question, is there a spirituality in the word Usita'i? Then after that I asked, if there is, please leave a comment. And I was surprised that people actually took the time to think it over and then send it to me. Because to tell you the truth, all the time I was in the ministry as a whaiwhiau, when I sit down to write anything, especially the launga for Sunday, I would read the text from the Bible, and then I would read the whole story by myself. Then I would find the commentaries, and I'd read through all the different commentaries. I would read through them, and then I would try to, all by myself. And then I would tape it, and I would play it back, and I'd listen if I want to hear what I'm saying. If I don't, then who's going to? So I change it. But this is the first time I asked somebody. Then I used to ask my other whaiwhiau friends, yeah, but we're all on the same wavelength because we were taught the same thing. But asking this weekend and receiving the response that I got, I thank you. You know who you are. I thank you for taking the time and responding and giving me your input into the word for today. And this is going to be happening every week. And I'm going to post it earlier, excuse me, because I have already prepared my launga for Sunday. But I woke up this morning on Sunday morning and found out this whole array of other point of views, of other angles from which you can look at Usita'i. And it just, my heart just, wow, it's fantastic. So yes, I thank you. We were all, everybody was on the same thing, but there were a couple of things that I found that I didn't get there. But when I read the comment, and it took me there, and it was very comforting. The thought that now I am not preparing a launga, just me and my point of view, but I am also incorporating the point of view of my family. Who's my family? You. You are my family. If you are friends with me on Farafitele Falfatu Enari, my profile, you are my family. If you are in our group, Tagaloa Tradition, if you are a member of our group, you are my family. If you get us on my page, Reverend Falfatu Enari, you are my family. And when you respond to this, then I know, o wo mo so uma, a o so mo so vale. Friends for everyday goings on, but family for when you really need to know and share something. This is beautiful. So I'm mindful now that every Friday I will post it up on Friday, and the cutoff time will be Saturday in the afternoon. So it gives me time to get every post and every suggestion and every idea and thoughts that you conjured up to the word for that day, and I can incorporate it into our launga. See, over half of this launga is from you. And I won't mention any names now or whenever, but you go and read on our pages and our group, and you'll know who's contributing and who's helping. So when you hear the launga and say, oh, that's what so-and-so posted. See, this is family. Usitai. Usitai. Obey. Obey. Every Monday, the first Monday of every month, they have what we call here in Samoa, Fa'asonga Fua, which is the council meeting of the village, where all the paramount chiefs, all the taulileas, tulafales, and all our waluma, our manga, and everybody goes there. This is when they run through the happenings of the month, the past month. Did somebody step out of line? Does somebody need to be summoned to come in so we can talk to them? All these things. And why I'm telling you this is because I want to explain this Samoan saying. It says, "E whaalongo muli mai ia mua mai." E whaalongo muli mai ia mua mai. Muli means the end, after. later. Mua means the first, before, in front. Mai means arrive or come. So when it says Ifa'alongo means to listen, you listen. Ifa'alongo mulimai, he who came later, him who came after, must listen to him who came before, or him who arrived many moons ago. So this Fa'asonga 4, and they will debate about things that happened in the village in the past month. And if there are topics that somebody did something not quite so good, then they would talk to the chief, whom this taulelea is under his jurisdictions, or under in his family. And sometimes this Matai would say, I'm not going to take this sitting down. So he would answer back, and then sometimes there would be a little conflict, I suppose. But being Matais and being in the village, it never blows up to anything as we do individually. And so this will go on, back and forth, and voices may be raised. But if there's nowhere else to turn, then usually this phrase will come in, and he will say, yeah, Manatua, remember, Upole tuno, words of our traditions. Ifa'alongo mulimai, iamuamai, means him who came after must listen to him who's been here for many, many moons. And usually it's him who's been here many, many moons that will start this line. And it'll put him on the spot. And of course then everybody would laugh, and then we're back to restorative justice, where everybody wins. It's a win-win situation. And yeah. Ifa'alongo mulimai iamuamai. Your parents have been here longer. They've lived many experiences, and they made a lot of mistakes. No question about that. And it's from those mistakes that he tries, or she tries, to help you so you don't make the same mistake. Some people say, let the kids make their own mistakes. Yes, but maybe we can conjure up an environment where they won't get hurt when they make this mistake, and conjure up plant something in them, in their thinking process, that when this mistake happens, and then he would recall it and say, oh, wasn't that what my mother said? And then he would bring it up and think it's something that came up in him, which is supposed to be good leadership and good parenting, is to make them feel that it's their own doing. And so, yes, in this hard-headedness of me, thinking that I have a better way of doing something, my culture, your culture, our traditions are saying, melt it, Fatu, melt it. They've been through this, and they've seen what got them in trouble because of doing it the way most young people are doing it today. Do it this way. Fa'alongo mulimai iamuamai. They're trying to raise leaders for tomorrow. That's what all the parents do, especially the moms. The moms. I mean, you go into any family, it's the same story. The children respond different to their mom's scolding than to their dad's telling off. Because, and I swear, it's that umbilical cord. You know, when they sever and they cut it, of course, physically. But I swear the spiritual cord has never been severed, because children always have that soft spot or that closeness about their mom. They are great disciplinarians, better than us dads. And I'll go a step further. You know, there was a big thing in America. What year was this? In the early 90s. There were, especially the black fathers, they were coming on and say, you know, every time we watch the football, when somebody scores a try, you know, they look at the camera and they put their finger up and says, I love you, Mom. And then the fathers are saying, not once did any of these dudes put their hand up and says, I love you, Dad. It's because of this It's never been severed. This spiritual umbilical cord that links the mom to the children. These guys, they could push and roll a tank over. They're about 10 foot, 27 or so, huge guys, and they come and say, "Hi, Ma, love you." And I don't blame the black fathers for saying that. Not one of them. It's discipline. Moms and dads. Fa'alongo muli mai ia mua mai. Mom's been here much longer than you. She knows you because she carried you for 9 months. You ate everything she did, and you felt everything she did. That's why of this camaraderie you have with your mom. And she's a mua mai. So in Samoan we're saying, Fa'alongo muli mai, ia mua mai. But that doesn't mean there is a give and take in here, especially with you, the young people. There is also a give and take with us parents. Once we were young, but how quickly we forget how we felt when we went through the experience of puberty, the experience of trying to, am I still a kid? Why are they treating, we went through that experience. But most of us parents, we forget that. An interesting thing I always tell my friends is that we're raising kids who are born in a generation in Samoa of I think 10 television stations, I think 20 radio stations, I think 7 newspapers, and one of those newspapers is daily. And all the radio stations are 24/7. All the television stations are 24/7. These are the people that we are trying to discipline. That's their world. But us, the disciplinarians, our world is one newspaper that came out once a week, on Fridays only. Our world is a radio station, just one radio station that comes on at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's shut down at 10 o'clock at night. In those days, we didn't have television. If you want to write something, if you want to contact somebody in New Zealand, we sit down, we write a letter. Then we go and get an envelope. Then we buy a stamp, we lick it, we put it on the envelope, shove it in the box, and it takes 10 days if we are lucky. And then for them to reply, it takes about 2-3 weeks before we have this full-on conversation. But today, in the world of the kids that we're trying to discipline, their world is so fast that you want to contact someone, you type it on the keyboard, press enter, and that instance, that person, wherever he is or she is in the face of the planet, they will read it seconds from after you press enter. And that's the world of our children that we're disciplining. So not only is there a give and take on the part of the children, but there's also a little give and take in our part, especially with us dads, because we've got deeper voices and we come across like kind of authoritative, and it kind of, peeves our children off. But the mom, she can scream on top of her voice and the kids would just heads down. Instilling a sense of responsibility, raising leaders for tomorrow. Obey. Fa'alongo muli mai, ia mua mai. In closing, I want to tell you, it's a joke, but it's a story really. This young man, he was having his 21st birthday. So he invited all his friends from school, from primary school, secondary school, and he invited all his friends. His mom and dad invited their friends, and it's a small community. The whole community was there, and everybody was having a great time. So came the time of the speeches, and it was time for the birthday boy to deliver his speech. So he walked up and thanked everybody, did the whole spiel, and towards the end he said, I must share with you that growing up, when I was 19, I thought of all the years I have been with my dad. I thank you, Mom, for raising me to who I am today. But for the whole 19 years I was with my father, now that I couldn't think of a more stupendous man than my father. He's the most impossible man to live with, and he is the most ignoramic human being I have ever come across when I was 19. But now that I'm 21, I'm amazed to see how much my father had learned in 2 years. Yeah, obey, Usitai. It's always much more with clarity when you're outside looking in. He's 21 and he recalls, and I swear in the back of his mind he's going, oh, thank you, Dad, for being understanding. Thank you, Dad, for your patience. Thank you, Mom, for putting up with my BS. Thank you for this. And that's his way of saying thank you. So the way he delivered his thank you tells me, and is telling all of us, he was raised right. Tongue-in-cheek. He says, all these years when I was 19, I thought my father was. But now that I've turned 21, I'm amazed to see how much my father had learned in 2 years. Yes. And that is our word for today. Once again, I want to say thank you to everybody who sent in your comments and your assistance, really, in helping me put this word for today together. And I hope you're going to be on board every time that I post it. It's going to be on Friday, and cutout time will be in the afternoon on Saturday. Give me time to work on it Saturday and for the Sunday Launga. And as I said at the beginning, understanding the feelings in this concept of Usita'i and experiencing Usita'i, not only as a parent, but as a child. The more we talk about it, and the more we learn about it, the more we know about it, the closer we become to discovering Tagaloa. Ia, o le tātou upu fola nā mo le vai aso Samoa, o te whaamaruru atu, o leo te iloa, o leo te waai atu ia te outou o nai tusi mai, no outou mawhai mua o te tali atu a lai whaile la unga. Ia arona ponga o le atu e tutusa aso o matua, ua luatu o talanoa atu i o te toi fōi mai, ua ule iloa le mele sa o iai la unga. O le mele o te whaamaruru atu ai, o la wawai atu ama o tilo atu ma o iloa atu, e o na o tali atu lea i se taimi o luma. A lea o te whaafitai i ate o tō umalawa o lea e pei o le uso ia tu umta vai, i le uso ia PI, i le uso ia Roger, o le uso ia toi vai, lato uma ia ua alu lunga le mea o leilo atu, a Roger Brandt, o tō mawhaafitai le mafuta mai, i le tātou launga pe o nei i le so. Ia, whai o leo so mātou leo e whapea. Ia iai le anganga Tagaloa, ia te oi maa, i le tāsa walinga i le nei vai aso. Ia taimua e pei o le ao niutu, e muli pe o le afi niutu ina ia manino o tāanga, wa ia maua pia fo i e oi maa o le musumusunga nganga o tātou tua a, e uli masao e fuafuanga uma, ia o le nei vai aso. Ia manuia te le lava Samoa, especially you, our children in the diaspora, the sons and daughters of Samoa in the diaspora. Tagaloa bless you 1,000 folds. And may the spirit of the Tagaloa and the Tagaloa spirit be seated in the soul of your heart. So every time you breathe, you can feel it in you that Tagaloa, the Spirit is with you. Yeah, o le mātou whaamatalanga na, ia manuia tele fuafuanga o le newa yaso, Samoa, soifua, o ia manuia.